don't fall well under social entrepreneur venture because of all the underlying issues that need to be addressed. So I think that if you're going to create a venture and you're going to deal with the most disadvantaged, then if you have a nonprofit, the nonprofit should be the entity that provides all those wraparound services to that individual while that individual is working in that enterprise. But not every venture is going to fit a social issue. And you have to be okay with that. You know, this is not the panacea and the answer to everything. It is just one answer or one approach to deal with social issue innovatively using and embracing business concepts and market forces. But sometimes, listen, you're going to need charitable organizations to provide mental health services.
But one of the areas where I see social ventures making a big impact in the bottom line is where they're creating jobs. You know, they're training people, and then they're often creating jobs out of it. I mean, having a job, having an income, clearly is one of the very first steps out of farming.
What we like to think about, kind of from our experience, is that we think of, it is costly to do it this way, but we'd like to think of holistic restoration, not just economic restoration or just social, psychological restoration. And to do it that way is very costly. If you're going to house that all within the venture itself, your operating costs are very high, so your profits need to be higher. But if you're going to not do that, then I like Edward's suggestion of having a partner organization that does wrap around to meet those other needs other than economic.
Last two questions, we'll take that gentleman there with the mic, and then we'll get my man over here.
Yeah, just a quick comment that I think maybe will spark some responses. I set up community investment funds in local urban communities for community development purposes. And I just wanted to underscore, I think it was said, but I think it was important to underscore that the financing options that you're talking about, it's more of an and sort of thing that we need to get used to and not, you know, an or. I think you were saying that. So you can mix the impact investment. I think that's where a lot of the power of the funding is going to come in. I call it blended capital, so yet another variation on the word capital, but it's how you blend, you know, with government, with private impact investments, with all these different sources, crowdfunding. So I think that's where the opportunity is, and we don't have to look at it as, you know, these artificial choices. And so, just, I don't know if you've been involved in any of those, if you have any comment about that, but I just wanted to underscore that.
Yep. To answer you, yes, that is a good point, and to figure out how to blend is a technical process, and definitely be working with somebody that knows how to do that.
Last question.
Chris Rabbi, I was the guy who interviewed Brandon Palm's barber this morning. You said that there was essentially a $15,000 to $60,000 cost to leverage a PRI.
From the foundation side, that's usually the transaction cost, yes.
More or less. So you're really talking about mid to large scale transactions for an L3C to really have a reason to pursue that form of capital in the future, right?
Yes.
So there are a lot of folks who are hearing great things about L3Cs, but are probably not going to be large scale anytime soon, and may in fact have an L3C or think about an L3C for foundations that do not provide PRIs in that area. So I'm just curious, are there any successful L3Cs that you're aware of that are accessing the PRIs in their area, in their field? Because it sounds like, in addition to the fact that there are not a whole lot of foundations that offer PRIs, and that there's a high transaction cost, L3Cs don't seem to be a particularly compelling operating model for a lot of entities.
That is very astute. That's a very astute observation. Yeah, I mean, there's the hope that the L3C was going to be some sort of the floodgates of philanthropic funding would come through. It's not been realized. I will say, on an optimistic, that's kind of a pessimistic note. On an optimistic note, there are two things that are happening right now that could change that. One is that there is a piece of legislation going through the U.S. House right now. It's in committee right now that basically allows for any organization that wants to be deemed whether or not they are PRI eligible to apply to the IRS with 120 days. They will get a determination letter saying you are PRI eligible or you are not, and then you can shop that around the foundation. So that eliminates the transaction costs. Another thing that's happening right now is there are proposed rule changes in the IRS and the Treasury, which help clarify what instances in which a PRI would be a good fit. So those are two kind of policy level things that are happening, and we'll see if either of those come through.
Can we get a round of applause for Kyle and Nancy? And the Institute wants to give them both these beautiful bags for their time and their expertise.
Stuff in the bags.
And there's stuff in the bag. And stuff in the bag. Thank you very much.
Of you and to our moderator Eddie, who did a great job. All right, it's time for the breakout session. And while you're at the breakout session, we're going to refresh some coffee and things. So when you come back, you'll have a chance to have some libations. Be ready for the last session of the day. If everybody can bring out their program schedule, look at page 8. I'll tell you where to go and what to do. Page 8 of your program book.